Don't blink, it's your boy Yink. Welcome to the show. You guys are doing well. You guys are having a wonderful day on this 3rd July 2025. Today we're talking about a subject that I don't want to talk about at all. But I feel like it's part of our life. I feel like it's part of everybody's life. Today we're talking about mortality. Not my own mortality, but my parents' mortality. Lately, and again, it's a very weird subject to bring up. It's a very, very weird subject. Lately, my parents, who actually don't talk to each other, they barely talk. I've been talking about mortality a lot, both of them. Talking about, well, what I'm going to do with when they die, with the estate, with the legacy, with the inheritance. And they've been really worried about it, right? Now, usually, in my own perception, I am pretty lucky in my unluckiness. I have never dealt with mortality. I've dealt with people dying. My grandma, but my grandma, I haven't seen her in 3 years, and so far I've never had like a really close person to me die. So when I was younger, when I was 22, my best friend committed unalive himself. But even then, it's not a concept of mortality. It's a concept of he chose to go. So it's not like, okay, oh shit happened. It's a context of you have to respect his decision, right? You can disagree with him, you can disagree with what he did, you can be mad at the person because of what they did, but at the end, it is their choice, and either you respect it or either you don't. And if you don't, well, that's kind of shitty because you don't honor the dead by, for example, somebody died and you're like, okay, well, I don't like the way you die, dude. Honor his memory. He's not there to defend himself. He's not there to defend his action. So just it's kind of complex. I never had to deal with mortality. And then again, I'm going to be looking like the worst of assholes. I don't know, sadly, very sadly speaking, I don't know a lot of people that would die and I would be super sad. My circle is actually quite small. But my parents, if they would die, and I never thought about this because, again, I wasn't faced before with mortality. The person that affected me the most by dying was over 10 years ago, right? I had a dog, he died, but a dog, is gonna die, So for example, at the end of the dog, he wasn't healthy, he wasn't able to hold and pee or poop. It's like, okay, well, there's not a lot. Look at this shit. This is actually bad. You see this and this is more dark, so there's more, it's filled with rain. I was looking for thunders today, though. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get that. So mortality, I never crossed a factor. It hasn't been a factor to me. And I have amazing parents. You guys see my father often. You guys see my mom often. I have amazing parents, and in their discussion of will and testament and shit like that, I have to admit I was uncomfortable when they talk about it. My mom, she's like, hey, you need to be trained for that. My father was like, and then my mom said, you need to be trained for that. And then I told my dad, what do you think about that? And he was like, yeah, she's right. And I was like, holy shit. He says, I don't know what to do with you either when you die. And I was like, you don't really have to worry about it. You're not going to die tomorrow. And because I haven't really thought about my parents' mortality, even though it's upcoming, they're pretty old. My mom is 67, my dad is 67. My dad is April 58, which would put him first older, and my mom is August 58, which would make her second. January, February, March, April, 4 versus 8 for June, for August. Because it's June 6, July 7, and August 8. Yeah. So how do I feel about it? And you see, we're talking about the mortality, and I was very uncomfortable, and I was like, I don't like talking about that. And I was like, okay, well, it's money. You talked about money before. But then I was like, why are you so comfortable? And then the truth hit me like a brick. You're comfortable because it's your parent death that you're talking about. It's not a subject that's taken lightly. And then there's a lot of realization. Like, for example, my father was talking about life insurance and how it was made for the coffin, and I never really thought about that. The estate, the complication, right? I am lucky for my dad because my dad has a girlfriend, and she is going to be taking care of a lot of stuff. My mom, She doesn't have a boyfriend. She doesn't have a husband. She kind of up to me to take care of this, you know. And of course, you never want to talk about this. Never want to think about it. Never want to think about your parent dying. One of the worst things you can talk about, to be honest. But at the same time, you know it's a possibility. So, for the first time today, and of course, this is not true. Of course, you think about your parent dying. You think about your parent dying, but today was the first time that I'm like, okay, well, what's next? You know? And I'm close to my parents. I'm extremely close to my parents. Now, technically speaking, I was very cuddle when I was younger. I'm the only child, so of course I get more attention. The way both parents were close. I'm very close to my mom. I'm very close to my dad. Like my mom, we'll talk for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I won't even see it. My father, oh my god, I saw my father this morning. I wasn't to his house. It was 8:30, 8:27 to be exact. I left the house. It was 11:15 because we're both yappers. So yeah, that was interesting. But I'm left with a feeling of uncertainty, you know. And then there's a lot of things that I'm missing. For example, there's this sentence that I think a lot of people will refer to, which is, who is the man of the house? Since it's a pretty broken house, there's no need for a man. But it's not because there's no need for a man that is not a man. My father was the oldest of his siblings, so when it came to a decision, he was in charge. My grandfather, the father of my father, was an alcoholic. And very early on, my father was in charge because my grandfather couldn't take charge. I had my grandma. Back in the days, we're talking about the 50s, we're talking about the 60s. Women didn't really have, well, I think it's all depending on where you're from, but in Montreal, a lot of women didn't work. A lot of women were housewives of their job, you know? So then, monetary-wise, my father to do stuff. My father had a good job. And then the coolest thing that happened is kind of everybody came up with something. So my uncles went to work. My aunts went to work. My grandma never had to deal with problem. Now, could I have parents that are so kind of well off? My mom is not really well off. She's making a decent salary. However, my mom, she's good at money. She's really good. She'll do some investment. She'll do. See, this is kind of crazy. My mom, you would think, when you know my parents, you think my father's better with money. My father was better with money only because he doesn't spend. Which is, there's no inner value. But my mom will be able to do more with the money that she has versus my father. You know? So yeah, so that was kind of... And then I was like, why are they insisting about money? And it was their way to kind of take care of me after they're dying. Even though it's not the same thing, you know. It's rough. It's really rough. It's really, really rough because you don't really deal with mortality, right? The first thing with mortality is taking care of stuff. Like, for example, oh, this is my boy and he died. We're gonna tell his wife. We're gonna tell his kids. Oh, my boy died. Well, he's gonna lose his job. There's a lot of things that he's not gonna be able to use. There's a funeral to kind of take care of, you know. It's a lot of stuff. You don't really think about it. And it's such a taboo subject. You don't want to think about your parent dying, but they'll die eventually. So for me, and it's the weirdest thing is because my mom my father and I were very vulnerable. We're gonna talk a lot, right? But we don't get in conversation of deep stuff. It'll be normal talk like, hey, you see they raise the price of this and what's going on in the world and things like that. But we don't talk about like politics. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about something that are, you know, deep subject or deeper subject. So then my mom had the bravado to talk about that. And because my mom had the bravado to talk about that, my father was like, well, she's right, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, since when do you feel this way? And he's been like, oh, it's been a couple of years and I'm worried that you don't know what to do when I'm dying. I'm like, it's been a couple of years, but he didn't talk about it, you know? But you guys know that. If you've been following the channel, you know that my father's not really good at expressing himself or talking about emotion. It's fear. And for him, fear is being weak. For my mom, fear is a problem that you need to solve. My father is, no. I gotta talk about my fears, you know? yes, I talk about death, and of course, you're not gonna die tomorrow, but I never, I never really, thought about that. And I'm like, I was a bit ashamed today because we're talking about life insurance, and I never had a conversation about life insurance. I had the sex talk, the person B talk, but I didn't have the life insurance talk. Um, I was a bit ashamed because I had to live a pretty simple lifestyle. I live a really simple lifestyle, a really simple lifestyle. I live a crazy simple lifestyle. All I need to take care of are the bills, my rent. I need to work enough to make enough money to survive. But as long as I make enough to survive and I pay my rent and my bills, I'm good. I don't care about anything else. If I had kids, then I was thinking, well, I take them to kids. I have to take them to school. If I had kids, well, my son is complaining that his clothes, he don't like his clothes, so I'm gonna buy him new clothes. With me, when he came in today in the live TikTok live, I was like, you should trim your mustache and your hair. You look better. And I'm like, it's a good idea, but I don't need to please people. I don't. The way I look is, I'm not trying to impress people. That's what I'm trying to say. But then he was, and in one sense he was right. How you present yourself is important. I never really cared about that. I never really cared about that. I never really cared about death. There's a lot of things that I didn't care about, that I chose to forego, that I chose to ignore. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Because you don't want to think about that. And even with my mom and with my stepmom, it's not fair. Because if I'm dying, if my father dies, she knows she has to take care of it. But the reality is, can she take care of it because they don't think I'm able to take care of shit? Does she feel obligated to take care of shit because I cannot take care of shit? Is that the problem? Is that the problem? I don't know. With my mom is normal. My mom, she's always been cuddling up. She's always been mama bear. It's more so like, hey, you don't need to worry about what's a single thing. I'll take care of everything. But then it raises the question: are you able to take care of shit? Are you able to take the lead if need be? I don't know. I don't know. Another problem, because you should be able to take care of that. I don't want to feel people. I want to force people to take care of shit because I'm not able to, and I just didn't think about it. Yes, there's shame in there. There's a lot of shame. Did I purposely avoid death? Possibly. Who knows? Subconsciously speaking, you can do a lot of things. My parents had me very old. They had me at 35 years old. I'm gonna have my kids at 35 or 40. I don't know. And it's, I think, as a kid, I was made aware my parents were older. I think most people die by old age. I don't know. But 67 in 1 year and 3 years, I'm gonna be 70. Think about that. It's crazy. In 10 years, I'm gonna be almost 80. Of course, you're asking yourself, where am I gonna be in 10 years? I don't know. Because in 10 years, you're most likely dead. And the topic of mortality is actually special because no matter what, they're gonna die. So it's a reality. What I'm gonna say is gonna be horrible, but when my dog died, I was really sad because I was like, okay, well, he's old. My parents, I love them. I love them more than my dog for sure, but it's the same mentality. Well, they were old, so we knew we didn't have a lot of time left. It was kind of to be expected, I don't know. And I got extremely lucky because both my parents are healthy. A lot of people at 67 aren't healthy. I got lucky. What if they weren't healthy? Would I be ready for them? I don't know. Then what I have to do, I have to start doing some research on life insurance and how it works. I have to take care of I have to learn what to take care of when people die. And even I mentioned, a couple people died. My grandma. You think I had to take care of shit? No. My best friend. You think I had to take care of shit? No. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. Sorry if it's a bit bleak, but mortality, right?